Have you ever worked a 10-hour shift, collapsed onto your couch, looked at your bank account, and wondered, how the hell am I still broke? Yeah, you're not alone. You did everything right. You clocked in on time. You said yes to overtime. You skipped Starbucks. And yet, here you are, exhausted, frustrated, and one Amazon impulse buy away from financial ruin. Well, by the time you finish watching this video, you'll finally get to realize 10 real reasons you're not rich yet, even if you work hard. Because the truth is this: hard work doesn't guarantee wealth. If hard work alone made people rich, why isn't every single construction worker rolling up to the job site in a Lamborghini forklift? Heck, in fact, it barely makes a dent without the right strategy. And today, we're going to expose exactly why that is. So take notes, lean in, and prepare to get uncomfortable, in the best way. 1. You're stuck in the earn-spend loop. First, just imagine running on a treadmill while shoveling dollar bills into a fire. That's what most people's finances look like. You earn money, you pay bills, you reward yourself with a little something something, and you start the cycle again next payday. That's not a wealth strategy. That's financial hamster wheel cardio. This, unfortunately, is one of the biggest problems most young people have, and I'm sure you're one of them. Most people are trained to focus on income, but not wealth building. Income equals what you earn. Wealth equals what you keep and grow. Pay attention to this now. You can be a six-figure earner and still be broke if you spend like a Kardashian with a concussion. Here's a quick example. Jeff makes $150,000 a year, but spends $145,000 on rent, lifestyle, and treating himself. Tina makes $50,000, invests 20%, and lives lean. Guess who retires rich? Hint, not Jeff. He's in debt making payments driving a leased Tesla. But wait, what if you are saving money? Let's talk about why that still might not be enough. 2. You save, but don't invest. Listen, saving is cute. It's like financial foreplay. But if your money's just sitting in a bank account earning 0.02% interest, it's basically napping while inflation eats its lunch. Hoarding cash in 2025 is like hoarding floppy disks. Safe maybe, but hilariously obsolete. Did you know historically S&P 500 returns are 10% annually? The average savings account, 0.45%. Do the math or let compound interest do it for you. So what's next? It's simple. Automate monthly buys into broad market index funds like the S&P 500. Dollar cost average like your future depends on it, because it does. Oh, and here's a truth bomb. Saving alone won't make you rich. Investing is what multiplies your money. And once I explain this to you, you'll start to understand. $10,000 saved? That's nice. $10,000 invested at 8% annually? That's $100,000 plus in 30 years. Compound interest is the silent, sexy cheat code the wealthy swear by. If you have any questions about this, let me know in the comments so I know what to make our next video about. So if you're hoarding cash in a dusty savings account, it's time to level up. But even if you're investing, what if your mindset is secretly sabotaging you? 3. You think like an employee, not an owner. Let's be real. School taught you how to follow directions, not how to build wealth. Most people are programmed to think like this. Work hard, get promoted, retire at 65, hope Social Security still exists. That's not wealth building, that's economic survival. Now this is an important point I've been wanting to tell you. The wealthy think like owners. They buy assets that generate income. They create systems that make money while they sleep. They invest in leverage, not labor. Here's the kicker. Working harder only scales your effort, not your income. But ownership, that scales infinitely. Whether it's real estate, a side hustle, stocks, or your own brand. If you're not building something that works for you, you're working for it forever. By the way, if you want to learn more about developing the stealth wealth mindset, go back and watch our Financial Freedom series. We've literally created step-by-step videos to help you completely master the money game and set you up for a life of independence. As always, make sure to subscribe to the channel. 4. You sell time instead of value. Your time is limited, your value is not. So what exactly does that mean? Well, let me give you a practical example so you can fully understand. Meet Eddie the exhausted electrician. Eddie clocks 60 hours a week, bills at $40 an hour, and still ends up Googling, can I reuse coffee grounds twice every Thursday? Eddie's problem? Linear income. Time goes in, paycheck comes out, ceiling reached. Simply put, this means that trading hours for dollars is like trying to fill a swimming pool with a shot glass. Great forearm workout, terrible strategy. Here's a fact: 86% of US millionaires own at least one profit-spitting asset: business, royalties, real estate. Median salaried workers, a crispy 0%. But hey, we've got dental. Basically, if you earn $25 per hour, that's $200 for an 8-hour day. But once those 8 hours are gone, that's it. You're capped. But what if you wrote an ebook, launched an online course, built a product, or sold a service that people could access 24/7 without you being there? Boom. That's scalable value. The rich don't just think, how can I make more per hour? They ask, how can I get paid while I'm at brunch? How can I make $10,000 off something I created once? Stop renting your life out in hourly increments. Start building things that outlive your labor. But let's pause. Because even if you start a business, you could still be broke if you don't master this next skill. 5, you don't know how to sell. All right, time to rip the Band-Aid off. You could be the most hardworking, honest, humble, talented person in the room, but if you can't sell your ideas, your skills, your vision, or your value, you're invisible. Period. Selling freaks people out. But let me hit you with a truth nugget. Every rich person you admire is an elite salesperson, whether it's a product, an idea, or their own image. Wealthy people know how to sell. Here's the cold, hard truth. The ability to sell is one of the most important skills on earth, not just in business, in life. Think about it. Job interview? You're selling yourself. First date? You're selling a dream. Asking for a raise? You're pitching your value. Trying to get your toddler to eat broccoli? You're absolutely selling. But if you hear the word sales and immediately think, ugh, I don't want to be pushy, that's not me. Congratulations. You've been lied to by every bad 90s infomercial and sleazy car dealership stereotype. Selling isn't about pressure. It's about persuasion with purpose. Even employees who rise the fastest aren't always the hardest workers. They're the ones who sell their value best. Don't want to sell? Then prepare to serve someone who does. And speaking of value, are you really upgrading your skills or just pretending to? 6, you stop learning after you clock out. Scroll TikTok for 3 hours? Easy. Read a book that could change your net worth? Maybe next weekend. Look, Netflix is comfy, but ignorance is expensive. This next point is one of the most critical ones you should always understand. And this point in particular is something I need to discuss with you seriously. Wealthy people treat learning like oxygen. They read, they listen to podcasts, they take courses. They know the faster they learn, the faster they earn. Meanwhile, the broke mindset says, I'm too tired after work. I already went to college. That course is too expensive. Your mind is the only asset theft-proof, inflation-proof, and mother-in-law proof. Feed it accordingly. Oh, and here's a little proven fact from a study that's been done by the University of Michigan. People who read one nonfiction book a month earn an average of $27,000 more per year than non-readers. Now, this might be a stretch for you, but here's what I want you to do. Swap 30 minutes of doom-scrolling social media for a podcast or online course. Tiny brain gains compound like dividends. But here's the thing. Ignorance is way more expensive than any course could ever be. You can either pay now to learn or pay later in regret. And while you're upgrading your mind, are you accidentally hanging around people who are quietly dragging you down? 7. Your circle doesn't think rich. If you've been following our Financial Freedom series, you already know that you can't grow rich in a room full of people who only talk about surviving. If your friends mock you for skipping brunch to work on a side hustle, roll their eyes when you mention investing, still think credit cards are for buying shoes, then you're not in a circle. You're in a cage. Energy is contagious. So is mediocrity. Wealth isn't just about strategy. It's about environment. And if your circle thinks $100,000 a year is a lot, they're going to freak out when you aim for $1 million. Sometimes the next level of your life requires letting go of the people from the last one. Okay, so let's say you've got the mindset, the skills, the strategy. But what about this dangerous habit almost everyone is guilty of? 8. You reward yourself too early. Let's paint a picture. You finally land that promotion. You see your paycheck. You do a double take. It's $350 more than last month. Cue the internal monologue. I've been working so hard, I haven't taken a vacation in months. You know what? I deserve a little something. Fast forward 2 weeks. You're sipping overpriced cocktails in Miami, flexing on Instagram with #blessed, and your bank account is gasping for air. Welcome to lifestyle creep, the silent killer of net worths everywhere. Every time you make a little extra money, you suddenly convince yourself you deserve a vacation, a car, a new phone, and a designer hoodie. Yeah, wake up, that's not wealth. Now, since I've talked about this topic extensively, I often get a recurring question. What's the number one reason high earners stay broke? Well, it's simple. They upgrade their lifestyle faster than their assets. Wealthy people reinvest windfalls. Broke people celebrate like they won the lottery. Remember this golden rule for life. If you can't buy it twice, you can't afford it. Rihanna said that. Yes, that Rihanna. And if billionaires are being cautious with their spending, maybe that $18 margarita can wait. You don't need to deprive yourself forever, but if you're flexing before you're financially stable, you're just performing wealth instead of building it. But here's the real kicker. What if the system itself is designed to keep you poor? 9. You play by rules made for you to lose. All right, think about this for a second. Your parents taught you to get good grades, get a job, obey authority, and retire quietly. Meanwhile, the rich were learning how taxes work, how leverage works, how to start companies and avoid debt traps. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The system isn't broken, it's working exactly as designed to benefit the wealthy. Banks loan you money at 24% interest for credit cards, but pay you 0.01% to hold your savings? That's not by accident. That's engineered. The rich don't play harder, they play smarter. They use loopholes, tax codes, corporations, and assets like cheat codes. And finally, this is a reason I've wanted to talk about for a long time. Unfortunately, this is one of the things that annoy me most with people who are aspiring entrepreneurs. 10. You don't actually believe you can be. This one stings because it's personal for me and kind of hard for me to touch on. But let's be honest for a second. You don't really think you're meant to be rich, do you? I'm not talking about what you post on Instagram, not what you write in your vision board, not what you scream at the mirror during your "I am a money magnet" affirmations. I'm talking about the belief underneath all that. The one that whispers when it's quiet. The one that says, "People like me don't get rich. I didn't come from money. It's too late for me. I'm not that smart. Maybe success just isn't in the cards." That voice is the reason you're not rich. Not your job, not your boss, not inflation, not the system, you. Let's talk about financial identity. If deep down your identity is "I'm a worker, I'm a survivor, I hustle to pay bills," then you'll find a way, no matter what, to keep yourself there. But the people who become wealthy, they don't just do different things, they think different thoughts. They believe they're meant for more, and that belief rewires their decisions. Most people were trained to think small. Let's go back. If you were raised hearing, "We can't afford that. Money doesn't grow on trees. Rich people are greedy. Get a safe job. We're not like those people," then guess what? You internalized those messages. They became your reality. And now, as an adult, every time you try to break out of that box, there's resistance. You're not just fighting bad habits, you're fighting your childhood blueprint. But here's the shift. Beliefs aren't permanent. They're learned, which means they can be unlearned and replaced. You can upgrade your internal software the same way you upgrade your phone, except this one comes with way fewer bugs and a much better bank account. But it starts with permission. You have to allow yourself to believe it's actually possible, that you can be wealthy, be free, be powerful, be respected, be a leader, be a freaking boss. No matter where you started, no matter what your parents earned, no matter how many mistakes you've made, no matter what your GPA was in high school, wealth doesn't check resumes, it checks beliefs. Real wealth is an identity shift. The people who get rich early, they don't always have the best plans. They just never question if they're allowed to win. They walk into a room and assume they belong. They try something and assume it'll work, or they'll learn fast enough to make it work. They don't see failure as rejection. They see it as a recalibration. And that's what gets them across the finish line faster than the people who sit around waiting for permission to start. So here's your moment. Stop waiting to feel ready. Stop waiting until you have all the answers. Stop waiting for a sign or a mentor or a miracle. Start moving like you believe in your own future. Because if you don't believe it, no one else will either. every rich person you admire? They weren't born with a different brain. They just rewired the one they had to say, "Why not me?" So I'll ask you again, why aren't you rich yet? And if the answer, even quietly, is because I don't believe I can be, then let today be the day that lie dies. So let's bring this home. If you're not rich yet, even though you're working hard, it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility. You weren't taught this stuff. You were trained to survive, not thrive. But today, you see the game. So here's what I want you to do. Pick one of these 10 reasons that slapped you in the face. Drop a comment and tell me which one it was. Own it and start fixing it today. Because wealth isn't reserved for the elite. It's built by people who wake up, wise up, and refuse to stay stuck. Work smart, think bigger, and never settle for being broke. In fact, there's been a dumb myth passed around by broke people thinking that playing it safe is the way to build wealth. That is a complete lie, and we've created an entire video breaking down exactly why. Click the video on the screen now, and we'll see you there.